Awesome. Welcome back to the Grow Like a Mother podcast. I'm here today with Donna. Donna is an author. She's an entrepreneur. She's a speaker, course creator, and a podcaster. So she is well within her realm here with me today. Her new self-help book, her self-help podcast, Your Bounce Back Life, is about empowering you to create a resilient life of passion, purpose, and peace in the pursuit of joy. And today we're talking about time management. We're talking about good habits, work-life balance, and being an entrepreneur. So welcome to the show.
Oh, Jill, thank you so much for having me. And I just love your show so much. It's so informational and inspirational. I've been listening to some of the fantastic women on your show, and there's just so many great resources there for moms, especially business moms too.
Yeah, thank you. It's such a joy to be able to bring people together through podcasting. I'm sure you feel the same way with yours. Like
I do.
it's
Yes.
such a wonderful platform to be able to bring a whole bunch of different topics together in a way that still feels resonant and people get something different every time they come back or more.
That's right.
Yeah. So I want to know about Donna. Can you give us a little bit of backstory on like how you got to be in this course content creation coaching type of role in your life?
Absolutely. Well, it really all started with the mom life balance and all of that. When my son was 6, and I really lost myself in becoming a mom when he was born. I'm adopted, I'm an only child, and I really didn't want to have a child. I think I feared that the love would be so intense, I'd be swept away. And that's just what happened, of course. A wonderful thing. But I did lose myself. So when he was 6, my mom passed away. And I realized at that moment life was really short. And I wanted to do something I'd always yearned to do, and that was write a book. I'd been a writer, I'd been a news reporter in marketing communications, corporate communications, but I wanted to write a book. And so I did. And that helped me also get through my grief to focus on something else besides my grief. And my whole world exploded. I met other writers and authors in this whole wonderful community. And from that, I also learned I'm so much more than a writer. I'm a creator, whether it's creating a book or a podcast or an online course or an Etsy shop where I create products and sell those, or presentations to teach. I'm a creator, and there's so many things that fall under that umbrella. Just like I'm not just a writer, I'm not just a mom. There's so many things that fall under the umbrella of mom too. It's a big role. And so that's kind of been my journey, and trying to find that balance with this journey has been fun as well. It hasn't happened overnight, as probably many of you experience. It takes a while to figure out what works for you, that's unique for you, to find that balance of being a mom, a wife, a friend, a business owner, all of that. But you can enjoy that journey, and that's just what I've been doing.
Yeah, so let's dive into that a little bit. This idea of enjoying the journey of
Mhm.
balancing work and life. And I think it's even like, I would split it further like work, life, and motherhood because they're so like big jar things in our life, right? Where do we even begin? Because I can imagine a lot of the listeners are sitting there like, oh, I want that, but like how? Where do I even start? You know?
Yes, absolutely. And again, it didn't happen overnight. It started when my son was 6 and I was growing into this role of creator. I would grab any time I could. My husband and son were very involved in Boy Scouts. So I was like, yay, weekends alone. I couldn't wait for them to leave. So I would take advantage of that. I also started getting up a lot earlier to write my first book. And I know this may not sound fun for some people, but I would get up and write from 4:30 to 6:30 every morning, 5 days a week. And in 7 months, I had my book. I don't get up at 4:30 anymore. It's more like 5:30 now. I'm an early riser, but getting up early has its benefits. Just to have alone time in the house, and now my alone time, I do my self-care early in the morning because I schedule that in. And that's a really important thing, I think, with balance too. I always schedule in my self-care every day. It's as important to me as working on a project or going grocery shopping or whatever it is I need to do during my day. So that has helped me find balance as well and fill my toolbox with techniques. And I found there's really 3 things that have helped me grow into the role of work-life balance and being a mom. And that is filling my toolbox with techniques and processes that work for me, scheduling my days with work and play and self-care. And also, I think this is really important, something sometimes we may not think of, constantly reevaluating our path. what's my path? What am I working on? What are these goals? Do they give me purpose? Do they fulfill me? Is this worth my time? Or do I need to change something? So I love lists. I mean, I'm a writer, so I have different journals everywhere. But every year I create a list of my goals in 4 categories, like personal, financial, spiritual, and physical. And I write down my goals for the year, what I want to do, and I revisit them from the year before. I've been doing this for 8 years. It's really amazing to go back and see what you have accomplished and achieved, especially when you feel like I'm not getting anything done. I haven't worked on this out of the other thing. You need to continually look at what you have achieved on paper and say, hey, give yourself a pat on the back. Yes, I am working on things I love, and I'm still have family time and me time. And I think the me time is so important. I date myself. I love to go on dates with myself. So I started doing that in my 20s. And just finding that time to do that is really important as many other things.
Yeah, I mean, two things that you said there really, I mean, so much of that rings true, but two things really stood out to me in that you need to um go you need to find the time somewhere, whether it's morning like us, we're morning people, or if it's night, if night's your thing, but morning is, like you said, so just so good because it's quiet, because no one else is awake, right? You're doing a thing that not many other people care to do or take the effort to do. So you get the benefit of being like quiet. The thing that people forget, I think, is like also go to bed early. Like because sleep is so important. Yeah, I'm up at 5 and I'm usually in bed by 8:30 or 9. Like I do not
Me
skip on
too.
my sleep. Yeah.
Mhm.
But the other thing is like reevaluating and understanding that the path is long and it doesn't happen overnight, as you've said. And it's something that if we're going to arrive at the place that we want to be in our life, we have to be constantly keeping that in focus and be willing to make little adjustments and also be willing to understand that it unfolds as, you know, as a whole plan that we get to work on through our whole lives. It's not instantaneous.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's really important to remember. I know I need to remember that because as it doesn't happen overnight, as you have to figure out what works for you, some things won't, some things will, and you have to give yourself a grace period. It's okay if your life is not in balance every day. There's always tomorrow. Life throws us curveballs. Just a perfect example, for 2 years recently, I had to do caregiving for my father who lived 10 hours away, a car drive. He had Alzheimer's, strokes, multiple strokes, and that became a full-time job his last year. And I could not do anything, work on my projects. I could just do the basics. And when I realized I was choosing to help my dad, and this was a temporary situation, which sometimes we need to remember in those life challenge situations. Sadly, it ended with his passing last November, but I realized I was choosing to help him and that I surrendered to it. And all I needed to do every day was take care of him, take care of my little family, take care of me. And everything else, if it got done, it did. If it didn't, it didn't. And that gave me a lot of peace. And I think it's good to remember that sometimes we just have to surrender and do what we can. We can't do everything. We'll come back to it. It's not going anywhere, you know?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
advice I really needed when I was in the throes of like when my babies were small and
Mhm.
like it was pandemic and I just wanted to I was trying to open a business at the same time and I just wanted to do it all and I was like resentful that I'd stay home and I wanted to just spend time in the business, but I wanted to be the best mom and it's like just you're in this season and it's temporary.
Right.
It's going to change and like do what you can, acknowledge where you're at, like you said, and I love that surrender. Just it's gonna flow. Just be with it.
Right. And be kind to yourself. I'm always reminding myself that because I'm so mean to myself sometimes. And then I think, would I talk to a friend like that? No. Talk to myself like I would talk to a friend, right? Be kind to myself. I'm not always going to be Wonder Mom, Wonder Work, in my career, Wonder Friend, all of that. So I'm just doing the best I can do in the moment of this time in my life, like you said, in the season. But I do think some things that can help, especially when you're a busy mom and you're trying to grab those moments, is to find techniques that work for you that help you work harder, right, and smarter in those small increments. And so I just wanted to share some things that help me. I've filled my toolbox over the years. And when I have that hour, that 2 hours, or maybe that whole day where I can work on a project and immerse myself, One thing I love is I use the tomato method. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No, I
Uh,
haven't.
I think if you
Oh,
just
I
look
love
on,
learning new things.
me
Yay. Okay,
too.
tomato method. Tell me.
Tomato method. And I think if you look online, you can find it. It's so simple, and yet it worked for me, especially with big projects. It's basically where you work on something very immersive for 25 minutes. No phone, you don't check your email, nothing. You are working on that one project. And then you get a 5-minute break. So you set your timer. So you get 5 minutes to go to the restroom, get a drink, stretch, and then your alarm goes off and you're like, back to it. It's like this forced schedule. And I found I've gotten so much done in doing that. If I can do that for a 3-hour period of time, I get a lot done. I also have the Freedom app on my computer. If you've heard of that, where that it'll shut off applications on my computer so I can't access them. It's like,
Mhm.
no, 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 Donna, you're working here. So you can set the timer for that. I also really recommend the Deep Work book by Cal Newport, if you've ever heard of that. He
Mhm.
also has a podcast, and he changed my way of working. It's such an amazing book. I've read it 3 times. I've taken 35 pages of notes to create my own guide on how to do deep work quickly and immerse myself in it. And then I also set my schedule the night before in 15-minute increments for the next day. I'm old school, so I have a paper calendar and I put it in pencil because things change. You have to be flexible, right? And then I know my day is set for the next day. And then I feel like I'm in control of my schedule. So, and that includes work and play, right? Not just projects that I'm working on. So these are some things that have worked for me that I use every day. And I also use this app called Binaural Beats.
Oh.
And that is an app, and there's many of them you can find for free. I use the free version of Binaural Beats. Basically, they're like tonal sounds that you need to wear headphones to hear in each ear. And there's different sessions on creative thinking, strategic thinking, critical thinking. You can set it for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And I put that on and do it while I'm working. And it just even helps me do more deep work in a short amount of time. So those are some things that I use.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Yeah, those are awesome tools and I love that they're new to me, which is something that I'm always looking for, like, especially depending on, I have like for my clients, I categorize them into 4 different like archetypes. And so some tips work for some archetypes and some tips work for others. So I'm always like, okay, who's this going to work for? Who's this going to work for? Because everyone has their own toolbox that they need.
That's
Like we
right.
were talking about earlier, you need to hear all of these suggestions and then pick the ones that work for you and toss the ones that don't, right? Just leave them at the door if they don't work and don't feel guilty about it, but like grab onto the ones that do. You
That's
know,
right. It's a really good idea. Yes.
I'm curious how you work play into your day. I just finished reading a book. Actually, it's right here. Overwhelmed by Bridget Schultz. I don't know if
Oh, I
you've,
haven't heard of
but it's
that.
very good. But she dives into this idea of women specifically not putting play in their lives and what value it can add. And I'm just curious, like, I'm sure you get the guilt and the like people pleasing and the putting other people's priorities before your own. So how is it that you can work that in?
That's a really great question. And it's something I've struggled with and has taken me a while to really find my foundation with, for sure, because I have several women friends who also have their own businesses and work for themselves, and they often work 7 days a week, like 10-hour days. And they see me out in the woods or spending a whole day with my family, and they don't understand how I do it. But it's a choice, right? And sometimes we don't always have that choice of time. But I've begun to realize, again, think of this as a journey, enjoy the journey, because I'm the kind of person, I get a project idea and I just want it, like you were talking about with your business. I would just want to go all in. I'm all consumed, all obsessed. And I found I can't be like that. I have to temper myself. And if I don't add in my walks in the woods because I love to be in nature, or my meditation, or my tapping, I do this EFT tapping to send calming signals to my brain, then I'm not going to be good as a mom in my business, with my friendships. I'm going to be agitated. I'm going to be on edge. I'm going to snap. I'm going to be quick to anger. And I don't want to be that person anymore. So I have to go off to the woods and I want to spend time with my family. And that project is going to be there. It's a big project. And if all I can do today is this one short little project, that's good. Then I've accomplished something today. So You have to, I think, shift your perspective and find a way to accept and find peace with that you are not going to get everything done today or tomorrow or next week. I work with big projects. I write books and I create courses, and they take months and months to do this. And every day you just bite off a little bit. If I write 500 words a day, that adds up. In 6 months, I have a book. So think about that for whatever your business may be, whether it's creating a website or building your client list. What can you do today that will keep driving you forward toward that? And you're still enjoying it, and your life and your family and being a mom, all of that.
Yeah. Feels like a tall order, but it's so possible because both you and I are at this place where we found that balance and we're
Yeah.
enjoying it as we go, and we're
Mhm.
able to do the deep work and the play. And I think that that's something that feels mythical if you haven't experienced it before, right?
Right.
But I just want anyone who's listening to and feeling like they're in the pit of it and the struggle to know that you can absolutely get there. There's nothing special about Donna and I. Like,
No, we're not special. We're just
no.
like you, everybody listening. And I will say, I think what's really important to add with this is to get rid of any toxic people in your life, maybe that are holding you back from being more than a mom, from doing these other things. Elevate yourself with supportive people. Hopefully you have a supportive partner that will say, yes, go away on a retreat on Saturday. I'll take care of our son. Don't worry about it. Or a group of people that are doing the same thing as you and that will support you and elevate you. Like when I became an author, this whole author community supported me. They helped me learn about storytelling and craft and marketing, and that was wonderful. And so you need to surround yourself with those supportive people that will elevate you on your journey that you're on, that you want to be on. So that's super important.
It is. It's super important. It's super important in
Mhm.
business. It's super important in motherhood. It's like, I just created this online community for moms that I'm calling the village, because
I
it's like,
love that.
we need this village. We need this community around us in all areas of our life, no matter what we're working on. Even if it's, let's say it's a health goal, not career or family, but like financial goal, whatever it is, we need the support of people who have achieved the thing we want so that we can A, know it's possible, and B, get advice, support, and mentorship from other people. Because I don't know about you, but I've always found that people who have achieved a certain thing are never the ones to like poo-poo or look down on the people trying to do it. They're the ones reaching out their hand and saying, hey, here's what helped me. Right? It's
Oh,
always the
absolutely. Because we've had mentors. I know I have. And so
yeah.
we want to pass that on and help mentor other people. It's not competition, right? We're all in this together. There's room for all of us to do what we want to do, for sure.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, totally agree. And sort of on that line, can you tell us a little bit about the work that you do? Like if someone is coming to read your book or to take one of your online courses, like what does it look like? What are you teaching people?
Well, I'm mostly aimed toward writers. So I teach at conferences, I teach marketing, about author marketing for writers and the craft of storytelling, world building, characterization, things like that. So I teach that in person. I teach that in my online courses. I also do author school visits. One of my series, actually, two of my series are for children's middle grades. So I love going to schools and visiting with kids in auditoriums. It's so wonderful because they think you're a rock star. I don't get that from adults with my adult books, my books for adults. With kids, it's so much more fun. And so I do that. And my Etsy shop, I'm also creating products for that I sell online as well. So it's a lot of creating. And I think another tip here too, that I want to share is that for me, it's helped to have multiple projects. Some I'm working on, some I'm not. So when one isn't working and I'm stuck, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to put that aside. I'm going to go work on this right now. Right? As authors, we don't want to just have one book to work on. We want to have multiple in different stages. So I think that helps to be able to switch, because I know some days I get paralyzed trying to work on something and I don't do anything. And then I'm beating myself up when I could have recognized this isn't working. I need to switch to something else right now. So being self-aware really helps with my day. So I do work on multiple projects a day and multiple book ideas, more online course ideas, things like that. Um, yeah, so it's just a lot of creating. That's a big part of my day. And I want to say too, as a mom striving to create multiple businesses while my son was young, he's now 21, but it's good for our kids to see us strive and create something and be like, mommy's busy right now. Can I play with you later? Or, we'll do this later or tomorrow. Because our son has now got the entrepreneur bug. He started his own business at 16 and he loves working for himself, and he's building his own marketing client list and creating his own hours. And he loves that. So it's really important for our kids to see us strive and achieve. And that's good for them to see us in action. It's not just our words, they're seeing us do something.
Yeah, so true. And even at a young age, they really do pick it up. And not only are you giving yourself the gift of like pouring into yourself and what's important to you and taking the time and claiming that, but you're setting the example and being the model that your kids can do that too. So it's normal for them to see people taking time to work on projects that they're passionate about, which makes it normal for them to take the time, and we can alleviate so much guilt and resentment and just the old narratives that keep being passed down generationally. We're at this stage where we're starting to change that, which feels really cool. I love that you're doing that.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I think we are at the stage of that. It gives us more flexibility in our lives. And if you think, hey, I have to get up early or I can't do this event because I want to work on this for my business, don't think of it as a sacrifice. Think of it as something you're choosing to do, right? You're choosing to do this to get that reward on the other side. It's not a sacrifice. It's a joy to be able to get up early and work on this project that is fulfilling for you and gives you purpose, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. So many good tips on how to enjoy the season you're in, the journey of like having all of the different pieces in the chaotic life. Before we wrap up, is there any last piece of advice or anything that you haven't been able to touch on that feels just important to share today?
Oh my gosh. I just think being a mom and being an entrepreneur is a tough place to be. And it's not always going to be ordered, like you would just said about chaos. And again, I'm going to use that word surrender to the chaos, right? As long as you're working toward your goals and you're enjoying the moment and you're finding time with your family and your friends and to work on your business, you are succeeding. You are accomplishing. So be kind to yourself and remember that. Give yourself that grace and talk to yourself like you would a friend.
Yeah, love it. It's so important. We often lose sight of the inner dialogue that's going on.
Right.
There's so much outer noise, and so paying attention to how you are talking to yourself and the thoughts that are coming into your head can be one of the easiest and first ways to start to change how you feel about what's going on.
Oh, absolutely. And we can do a lot of negative talk. I know I do. And looping with that negative talk. And what I do during the day is I stop myself when I'm feeling bad or upset and I say, wait a minute, why am I feeling this way? Is it something I'm telling myself? And then I try and redirect my thoughts or
Mhm.
try and do something different for 10 minutes. Just doing different activity will get you out of that negative loop. It helps me sometimes too.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your wisdom today, Donna. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. And can you let everyone know where they can find you if they want to reach out further? If we've got some people thinking about writing books or just wanting to be more in your energy, where can they find you?
oh, sure. And thank you so much for those kind words. I've so loved being on here, Jill. And and listeners out there, you can find me as my author. You can find me at donnagalanti.com. That's my website where I have my recent series, Unicorn Island, out as well. And yourbouncebacklife.com. That's where my podcast is. I'm also on Udemy, udemy.com. That's where my online courses are. And you can find me anywhere. Really, if you just search my name, you'll find my different platforms for sure. So I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Jill, for having me on here.
Oh, it's been an absolute gift. Thank you for your time. And I will make sure for the audience that everything is linked in the show notes. So be sure to go check that out and follow Donna. And until next time, keep growing.